I have made some budget decks over the last little bit, and today I'm going to share 50 decks that I think can be made into workable versions with $50 or less. Dark Magician is a fan favorite that uses its spells and traps to summon out Dark Magician and can control the board by banishing cards or with other effects. Springans has a nice field spell that lets you easily get out your Exceed monsters, and they have some powerful spells that can add monsters or special summon a lot of monsters to the board. Dual Avatar is a fusion archetype that mainly relies on one card that special summons a lot of tokens to then fusion summon with. You also get powerful effects by using certain effect monsters for the fusion summon. Phantom Knight are mainly level 3s that utilize their graveyard effects to search for the cards they need or to special summon more monsters. Armed Dragon Thunder are monsters that upgrade themselves into their higher level versions by discarding monsters. They also gain effects when sent to grave to activate their dragon's effects. Dark World is a deck that has many ways to discard cards. They have great effects when discarded to help them cycle through the deck. Gate Guardian has a couple of fusions that are summoned by banishing pieces from the field. There are multiple cards that help them get to that point of fusion summoning. This version of Shark wants to special summon a lot of level 4 water monsters to be able to go into powerful water Exceed monsters such as Bahamut Shark and Stealth Kraken. Traptrix is an archetype with powerful traps that can deal with monsters when they are summoned, and a Link 1 in Sarah that gives access to a lot of the deck. Masked Heroes use Mask Change to go into their different attributed Masked Heroes. Shadow Mist lets you easily search Mask Change, and you will generally go into Darklaw for its powerful effect. Exodia Incarnate is a monster that gets more powerful the more pieces of Exodia are in the graveyard. There are other parts of the deck that also interact with the pieces of Exodia. Branded Despia can be made fairly cheaply if your main game plan is to summon Mirror Jade, which can banish a monster on field. You can also summon other Fallen of Albaz fusions. Mayosenju are high-level pendulum monsters that when pendulum summoned can return cards on the field. There are also some Mayosenju cards that help support this. S-Force is a deck that interacts with their banish zone to get a lot of their effects and uses columns occasionally to interfere with the opponent. Gren Maju likes to banish cards. They have some notable ones like Pot of Desires and Gizmek Orochi. These all help to power up Gren Maju. Nemleria's main card is Dreaming Nemleria that has a crazy effect that activates when it is the only thing in the extra deck. The other monsters can special themselves to the field when a pendulum is in the extra deck and banish cards from the extra to gain effects. Floowandereeze are winged beasts that normal summon multiple times to gain effects and to eventually tribute summon for some strong monsters. Nouvelle are ritual monsters that can potentially tribute attack position monsters and themselves to go into higher level monsters. They can also summon Hungry Burger, which is fun. Crystal Beasts like to put themselves into the spell and trap zone, which lets them use their spells and traps to special summon monsters or disrupt the opponent. Gunkan Suships revolve around their normal monster, Suship Shari, to be able to activate their effects and to draw cards with their Exceed monsters. Melffys are monsters that return themselves to the hand to get their effects. This happens when targeted for an attack or an opponent summons a monster. Inzektors try to use their non-once per turn effects to be able to summon and add a lot of cards by sending their monsters that are equipped to them to the grave. Dinosaur destroys cards they have to activate their multiple card effects. Their boss monster, Ultimate Conductor Triano, is pretty cool to also clear boards. Cyber Dragons are machines that generally become named Cyber Dragon while on the field, which lets them activate certain spells and traps and go into a variety of extra deck monsters. Marincess is a deck that likes to link climb into different water monsters and is able to do this with very little resources. This lets them play other cards to help interrupt the opponent. Numeron tries to OTK the opponent by summoning out 4 Exceed monsters at once that progressively get more powerful the more times you attack that turn. Virtual World is one that activates monster effects by sending different types of cards to the grave. They also have multiple cards that activate in the grave or interact with the banish zone. Monarchs are monsters that generally gain effects when they are tribute summoned. The hard part is sometimes finding what to tribute for them. Gouki is a deck that gains effects to search for more Gouki cards when sent from field to grave, which works great with their different link summoning plays. If you want to summon Blue Eyes a couple of times, you can do that with different spells and traps, but some of the best Blue Eyes support is still fairly expensive. Darklord is able to summon high-level monsters onto the field to then use their effects to copy their spells and traps that are in the graveyard. Subterrors are different flip monsters that can gain advantage or interact with the opponent when they are flipped face up. Appliancers are level 1 machines that like to special themselves to the field to be used for their many different Link 1 monsters. Laundry Dragon is especially nice to get rid of monsters. Altergeist currently revolves around using traps to use Multi-Faker's effect to special summon from deck. They also have Exodia that can negate a spell or trap by attributing a monster. Prank Kids are monsters that can special summon other ones of them from deck when used for their fusion or link plays, which is harder with no Link 1 currently. Tindangle uses their flip effects to special summon their other flip monsters or to set up the hand. They hope to go into their Link monster to start attacking for 3000 damage. Beetrooper uses all of the different powerful insect support to get monsters on the board to be able to go into their Link monsters or other plays. Shaddoll is a fusion deck where most of their monsters gain effects if sent to the grave by a card effect, like a fusion summon. Their main deck monsters also have flip effects. Penguin tries to use their monsters to go into Penguin Brave, which gets their penguins from deck. They also like to return opponents' cards to hand. Furhire uses their monsters to special their other monsters from hand to swarm the board. They also can get effects when other Furhires are summoned. Lyrilusc are level 1 wing beasts that can fairly easily special summon themselves to the field that are then used for their Exceed monsters. Crusadia can special themselves to zones a Link monster points to link up into different monsters. One route is Crusadia Equimax, which can attack for a lot of damage. Gaia has a couple of ways to get to their fusion. Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, which is able to pop cards on the field by losing attack. Geargia are monsters that generally gain effects when flipped face up. These include adding cards or destroying opponents' cards. They also like to exceed summon rank 4s. Deskbots are machines with 500 attack and 500 defense with all different levels. They generally gain attack the more of them there are on the board. Crawlers are also flip monsters with a variety of effects. If you do remove a face-up one by card effect, 2 more will take its place from deck. Dynamists like to do battle and pendulum summon. They have a couple effects that help them to do battle or set up their pendulum scales. Phantasm is all about normal monsters. When you summon one with the field spell out, you can search for your traps that deal with opponent's cards while you have a normal monster. UA are based on sports and they tag out with each other to special themselves to field to get their effects. And finally, Mayosenju, which act like spirit monsters that can normal summon each other out. They also have a couple of ways to return opponents' cards to hand. Those were 50 decks that I think could be made with $50 or less.